Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Tunis for EU4 1.31 Leviathan. Before we begin, consider leaving a like and subscribing since only 12% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today. So Tunis is a nation in northern Africa, specifically in the Maghreb region, surrounded by mostly weaker nations stretching from Fezzan to Tlemcen, with Morocco in the west on about equal terms with Tunis, and the Mamluks in the east being more powerful. Of course, in the north we have the Italian and the Iberian nations, which we will fight with for dominance over the Mediterranean. Tunis is my personal favorite Maghrebi nation, and it is one of the best nations for forming Andalusia with and dominating the Mediterranean with your powerful navy and trade. First, we're going to go into the policies tab and select adopt the title of Khalifa and denounce sect practices. Then we're going to enact a taxation policy, and we're going to take the efficient tax farming because our economy is very weak at the start. Then we're going to go into our estates and summon the diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're going to give the ulama religious state, clerical advisory council. We're going to give the emirs increased levies and aristocratic councillors. We're going to give the merchant guilds patronage of the arts, commercial advisory board, and indebted to the merchant guilds. Then we're going to seize land. Now we need to kick off our mission tree so we can get claims on these areas over here and some claims in the Mamluks too. So we're gonna send one of our diplomats to improve relations with the Ottomans. With our other diplomat, we're gonna ally Fezzan. And we're gonna do everything we can to get the best relations possible with Fezzan so the Mamluks don't vassalize them. And we're gonna hope that Fezzan allies some of these guys over here like Tlemcen, Mazab, Toghurt, or Jared, so then we can conquer them in that war. But we want to have good relations with them and not declare on them directly. So we're gonna royal marry them, guarantee them, give them military access, all that good stuff. And then with the final diplomat, we're gonna build a spy network on Tlemcen, since they are the first nation we're gonna be declaring on. Then we're gonna give our ruler military command. He is pretty horrible, we do want him to die, and we're gonna disinherit our heir, since he is really bad too. Then we're gonna build 3 light ships, and we're gonna take these 6 galleys and recruit an admiral for them. Then we're gonna send these 6 galleys all around the Mediterranean so we can raid coasts. Remember, we're a Berber nation, which means we can raid just like pirates, and we're gonna be collecting manpower, sailors, and ducats. It's gonna boost our economy significantly at the start. So I'm just gonna send them over here first. Remember, we can raid 3 tiles away, and I'm just gonna send them to all of these sea tiles, and we're gonna be raiding all of these coasts. And once they're in a certain tile, for example when they get over here, I'm just gonna click this button and keep clicking it on every single sea tile. We're also gonna add some rivals like Tlemcen, Portugal, why not, and maybe Genoa. Our economy is pretty weak, but we are gonna recruit 1 advisor. I recommend taking an admin advisor for tax if you have him. Either way, take an admin advisor. Now we're gonna wait for 1 year for these ships to recruit and for us to royal marry and ally the Ottomans. After that, we will be declaring our first war. And now that our 3 light ships are finished with construction, we can unlock the first mission. This mission gives us claims on these areas right here. Now it's time to declare our first war, which is gonna be against Tlemcen. Now, honestly, Tlemcen can ally any nation over here. All of these right here, Morocco or Granada. And in my case, they have allied Morocco and Toghurt. In your case, they may not be allied to Morocco at all, but they are in a war against Sus in their war of independence, and Castile is in that war too. So right now I am gonna have to fight Morocco too. Now what I'm gonna do is wait a little bit to see if Morocco won't join, but either way I am gonna declare on them when they're weak, if they would join. And there we go, it's only been like 2 months and Morocco already won't join. This is because Castile over here are blockading them, and they've already got onto Tangier. So you definitely will find yourself in a situation like this. Either Tlemcen won't have a strong ally like Morocco, or you will be able to declare on them while Morocco is busy with something else. So now it's time to declare on Tlemcen. Toghurt will join this war, but it's no big deal. I'm just gonna declare for Dara right here, but first, I'm also going to recruit the Free Company. During this time, you should also start building a spy network on one of these 3 nations right here. In my case, I'm gonna start spying on Jared, since they're allied to Granada, and maybe we could co-belligerent Granada, so that's a good opportunity right there. Check for something like this in your games. It really doesn't matter on which one of these nations you declare first. For your naval doctrine, you should definitely select the plus 15% galley combat ability one. we already have 20 from our traditions. And there we go, I've basically 100%ed Tlemcen by now. This is an easy war, but it is pretty long due to their coastal and highland fort. So in this first war, we're gonna take their entire coastline. This is to prevent nations like Castile and Aragon declaring on them. And I'm also gonna take the province of Ouda right here to sort of prevent Morocco from declaring on them, even though they could go through here. So these 4 provinces in the first war, as well as all their money. No war reps. Let's try and keep the truce down as much as we can. And that's the first war against Tlemcen done. Now during this I was able to royal marry the Ottomans, and now I am gonna ally them. You will be able to ally the Ottomans in pretty much every game. Now we can also unlock the mission Ottoman Diplomacy. This gives us some claims in the Mamluks. Now it's time to chill for, well, a few months and get ready to declare on some of these nations right here. Now at this point you will have a sea tile border with Granada, and you should start building a spy network on them in order to declare, since their truce with Castile should have already run out by this time and they will be declaring on them pretty soon. Now our next war is actually going to be against them, whether we have built up a spy network or not. In my case, they are allied to Jared right here, we do have a spy network built up already on them. So now I will be declaring on Jared and co-belligerenting Granada and Mazab too. Let's just clean these nations up as soon as we can. In your case, if they aren't allied to any of these small guys, you should declare directly on them with your claim. Of course, as long as they're not allied to the Ottomans, but they really shouldn't be. They usually don't ally them this early. As you can see in my case, they are only allied to Jared. So I am gonna declare on Jared and co-belligerent these 2 nations, call in Fizan, cause why not? And there we go. Now I did full siege Mazab, and of course I am gonna full annex them. I did co-belligerent them. And now I've fully occupied Granada, and like I said, it depends whether you're fighting them based on their alliance with the Ottomans, which they shouldn't have this early, or maybe in your case Castile already got to them and full annexed them. Either way, don't worry too much about it if you can't fight Granada. They're just an added bonus. Our real focus is right here. But if you declared on them directly or indirectly, like in my case, we are gonna be making them our vassal and taking all their money. And I'm also gonna full annex Jared. Don't worry about coalitions, no one will really join. As we can see, aggressive expansion isn't bad at all. Even the Mamluks don't care that we did this. The only nations that really care are located right here. And that's our first 2 wars done. In our first war, of course, it was against Tlemcen, and your second war should be against some of these nations or Granada. And if you think these alliance networks are lucky or something, how they're allied to each other, trust me, they're really not. These types of alliance networks happen all the time in the Maghreb region, where you declare on one nation and basically you take out a couple of birds with one stone. In my example, I'm gonna be declaring on Toghurt next and co-belligerenting Fezzan, so we can vassalize them too. We already prevented the Mamluks from doing so due to our excellent relations with them, and you will find yourself in a lot of situations like this when starting out your game with Tunis. Now it's time to chill for a bit and get ready to declare on whichever nation you have left over here, Mazab, Toghurt or Jared. This is also the time to set your 5 lightships privateer in Genoa. And now that my truce with Toghurt is up, like I said, I will be declaring on them. You should be declaring on whichever nation is left right here, preferably some that's allied with Fezzan, and in my case that's exactly Toghurt. So I'm gonna declare on them. I can't co-belligerent Fezzan because I'm allied to them, but we're still gonna vassalize them. And I do have a subjugation CB on them from my missions, so I will in fact vassalize Toghurt and full annex Fezzan. If I didn't have the CB, I would do it the other way around. And now I've fully occupied these nations, so I will be piecing them out. And there we go. It hasn't been even 10 years, and we've taken the coast from Tlemcen, taken out all these nations right here, and we maybe have Granada as our vassal. This is just an added bonus if you could get to them before Castile got to them or before they allied the Ottomans. Now that we're pretty much done with our opening wars, it's time to chill, wait for our truce with Tlemcen to run out, maybe dev up the Renaissance a little bit in our capital of Tunis, and see what happens with Morocco, because they are getting declared on by Aragon in my case. So we do need to see how powerful they are after our initial wars, and if we could maybe declare on them. Once you've taken out these nations here, you will be able to unlock the mission Pacify the Berbers, which will give us -2 national unrest. Pretty good, since we have taken over a lot of lands and rebels will start popping up. And once we can build a marketplace in Tripoli, we will be able to unlock the mission Traverse the Sahara, which will give these 2 provinces to us and give us vision of these regions right here. At this point, we can also hire other advisors. I'm gonna take this Diplo Rep guy and this Morale of Armies guy. Now Morocco is pretty weakened in my case, since they did fight Sousse right here, which they managed to keep a hold of, and they just lost a war to Aragon, and they don't have any allies. So I am gonna start building a spy network on them now. And you should be building a spy network on them too, while we're waiting for our truce with Tlemcen to run out. And if we have a good opportunity, we're gonna declare on Morocco before we even fight Tlemcen again. And look at all the coasts I just raided. That's quite a lot of cash and quite a lot of sailors. Don't forget to do it. Once you unlock Diplotech 4, you should immediately build a marketplace in Tripoli. And now that we have 2 vassals, we can also give the emirs strong duchies. And now that some time has passed and we've stabilized a bit from conquering all these nations, it's time to declare on Morocco. At this point, they will be weaker than you, even with or without their vassals, and they really shouldn't have any strong alliances, such as the Ottomans, because after all, we are the ones who allied the Ottomans. Now in my case, they have allied Tlemcen, so it is going to be a bit annoying. But either way, I am going to be declaring on them in the conquest of Fez right here, because that's the only province I can make a claim on. And I'm just going to be taking care of Tlemcen first and white piecing them before focusing on Morocco. This will also bring our truce with Tlemcen down. In your case, at this point, they probably won't have any allies at all. For your tier 2 government reform, you should take strength and noble privileges. Once you do build that marketplace in Tripoli, you will be able to unlock the mission Traverse the Sahara. This mission gives us these 2 provinces, gives us vision of these areas, and we also have claims on West and East Asban. We'll deal with Ayr as soon as we're done with Morocco. And now I have sieged down Morocco as much as I can, and it's time to get out of this war since I don't want to waste too much manpower. Now, in this first war against Morocco, you're gonna want to take their coastline up here in the Sevilla trade node. In my case, Aragon already owns Melilla, and in your case, Castile or Portugal might have already gotten involved in these provinces, basically in the North Morocco area. So in my case, I'm gonna take their capital of Fez, since it is the most annoying fort in the world. I'm also gonna take Tangier, Tetuan, and Saleh. Since they are my rival, I will humiliate them and then take some money for the rest of the war score. Remember, this doesn't mean anything. No one cares that we're doing this, only the Maghrebi nations. Only 12 aggressive expansion with Castile, the Mamluks don't really care either. Now it's time to chill and decide where our next war is going to be. Now that we've taken care of all the Maghrebi miners and defeated Tlemcen and Morocco in the first wars, it's time to shift our attention down to West Africa and take over these provinces, which we have claims on from our mission. Now 99% of the time, Ayr will own those provinces. In my case, they are allied to Djenné and Kano, but we can't really see them. I think Kano is this nation right here and Djenné is somewhere over here, and their alliances really depend. They could have stronger allies like Mali or Timbuktu, for example, or Yao. But judging by their force limit here, we can basically determine how strong the nation we will be fighting is. In my case, they're not very strong, and you should be able to defeat them unless they have like 5 or 6 allies or something, or they're allied to a strong Mali or a strong Timbuktu. So we will be declaring on them right now. They do have a level 3 fort, which is annoying, but it won't be a difficult war. For our first idea group as Tunis, we are gonna take quality ideas. This will help us with our non-military focused national ideas, and it will also help us in achieving an even stronger navy. So I just pieced out Ayr in this war, and I did make them my subject, and if they're small enough so that you can subjugate them, you should do it. But if they're bigger than they are, in my case, you should just conquer them, since you probably won't be able to subjugate them. And like I said, Ayr will hold these territories about 90% of the time. But once we do have all of these claims, and it may take 2 wars for you instead of 1 like in my case, we will be able to unlock the airstrike mission, which gives us claims on some more areas over here, as we can see. Now it's time to chill a bit and turn our attention to our second war against Tlemcen. The reason we're going to be getting mostly vassals in West Africa is because our nation is pretty big right now in terms of land area, but we still don't have a very large army. As we can see, I only have 25 units right now, and the max land force limit is 30. So we don't have enough armies to be able to station one in West Africa permanently and one in North Africa permanently. That's why by having a vassal here, we won't really have to deal with rebellions, and they will be a slight problem playing as Tunis. This is also around the time you should start annexing your subjects. If you have Granada, annex them first. If not, you can annex whoever you have over here, like in my case, Togur. This is also around the time where your economy will start growing and stabilizing. This is how much I'm making right now, although my army maintenance is down and I have forts turned off. but this is around the point where you should really start making money. When you have the money, I do recommend building a fort in Jado right here. This will prevent all these nations that you're gonna fight in West Africa from just walking up over here and sieging down your lands and causing devastation. So you should build a fort in this province right here. And once we've taken care of the first nation in West Africa, it's time to declare our second war against Tlemcen. And this time, we're gonna full annex them. And like I said, in the second war against Tlemcen, we are gonna full annex them. It doesn't matter how big they are. They might be a little smaller if Morocco declared on them, in your case. Now we will also be able to fulfill the mission, control the Barbary coast. Now in my case, I can see that Portugal is fighting France because France declared on England, and as you know, England and Portugal are allied. Castile has also declared on Portugal. This means that if I declare on them, England won't defend them. And this is a perfect time to declare a little war for Ceuta, where I'm basically just gonna occupy Ceuta and stand on it until the Portuguese give up. Keep an eye out for situations like this in your playthrough, where some of the Iberian nations that may hold territory right here are pretty weak, and you might be able to declare on them, like in my case right now. Now I have enough war score to take Ceuta from the Portuguese, as well as war reps and some money, so that's what I'm gonna do. Like I said, you may not find yourself in a situation like this where you're able to take provinces from the Iberian nations, but if you do, totally go for it. This was an easy war. Once we've cleaned up Tlemcen and our truce with Morocco is still active, it's time to turn our attention back down to West Africa and see if we can take over some of these provinces right here. And we're just gonna declare on the weakest of whichever of these nations we have claims on. Basically, in my case, these nations are all pretty much equal, so it won't really matter too much who I declare on. None of them is the weakest, and they all have a bunch of allies, so I am just gonna declare on Yao over here. And I'm gonna be white piecing their allies because I want short truces. And there we go. For your first age ability, it's really up to you what you want to pick. None of these will give us a significant advantage in what we're trying to achieve. So I'm just gonna go for the minus 10% aggressive expansion one. And now that I've fully occupied Yao, I am going to be making them a vassal as well. This is because we have one vassal in Ayer, we've already integrated Togurt, and I'm going to be integrating Granada pretty soon, and I still want to be at least 2 subjects all the time. So I'm going to vassalize Yao too, and take all their money. Now we have a couple of more provinces left to take over, mainly these 4 in my case. You may have a little more or a little less, depending on which nations were here. Now our truce with Morocco is about to run out, so it's time to go back up north and take care of them in the second war. And like I said, now it's time to declare on Morocco in our second war, where we're going to be focusing on taking the province of Tafilalt, which produces gold, gonna help us out a lot, as well as the province of Demnate, which contains the Ait Benadou monument. This is an excellent monument for all Iberian and Maghrebi nations, since it will help us out a lot in building our trade empire. So it's time to declare Morocco in our second war. Now when you're ready to declare this second war, at this point they might have acquired a strong ally like the Ottomans, or maybe even the Mamluks for some reason, if they're your rival or something. In that case, if you don't feel powerful enough to take on Morocco and some big ally like the Mamluks, then it's time to just chill and declare on some of these other nations down here and take over all your claims. Luckily in my case, they've been sucking all game and they don't have an ally, so I am gonna declare on them. Now that I've 100% of Morocco, this is what I'm gonna take in the second war, and you should focus on taking some of these provinces too. Like I said, the province of Tafilalt and Demnate are the most important, and I'm also gonna take these 3 provinces, so these 2 and this one, which I have claims on, as well as this one too. And I'm gonna take all their money. And there we go, we have the gold producing province of Tafilalt, which we are going to be full stating as soon as possible, lowering autonomy and deving the production up to 10 to maximize that gold gain. And we also have the Ait Benadou. It's only at level 1 right now, which gives us plus 10% caravan power, but we are going to be working on building it up. For your second idea group, you should take economic ideas. This will help us build buildings right now, which is what we really need to be doing to boost our economy even further. Like I said, Tunis has a very weak economy at the start, but once we're basically at this point, we can start building and scaling massively. So economic ideas for our second idea group. And by around the 1480s, your game should look a little something like this. Basically, in our first war, we took the coastline off of Tlemcen, then we focused on taking down these smaller Berber nations right here. We had good relations with Fezzan, so so the Mamluks don't get them as a subject, but then we full annexed because they were allied to some of these smaller nations right here. We also took advantage of the fact that Granada was allied to one of these smaller nations and we vassalized them. Like I said, you should do that as well, or directly build up a claim on them once you take the coastline from Tlemcen. Then we defeated Tlemcen in our second war and full annexed them. We defeated Morocco once, we defeated Morocco twice, completed the mission to get these provinces down here, moved down to West Africa in these regions, and we've taken over most of our claims and fed some subjects down here. Like I said, it's important to have subjects down here because we don't want to deal with rebellions over here and keep moving our army all the way from here to down here, then back again, then back down. And we basically have a few more provinces left to conquer. In your case, you might have all of these claims already, or you might have less than me, it doesn't matter. And like I said, don't worry if you couldn't get Granada, it's just a little added bonus. By this time we're also on the Great Powers list. As we can see, we're number 6th, not bad. We have a pretty decent army, although we are struggling with manpower a little bit. We also have a fairly decent navy, and we use the light ships to privateer the trade node of Genoa and use the other ships to raid the coasts of other nations, which gives us a ton of sailors and ducats. For our first two idea groups, we took quality and economic, and after that you should take another military idea group such as quantity or offensive. After that you could go with influence, trade, or diplo, one of those 3 diplomatic idea groups, and the rest of them are your choice, basically depending on what your campaign goals are. Now after this point you should continue expanding in West Africa and taking over all of these provinces that you don't have yet and feeding them to your subjects, and then integrating these subjects here and continuing to expand in the Timbuktu and Katsina trade nodes while routing trade up to Tunis, and later you will be moving your trade capital to different trade nodes such as Sevilla. You should also finish eating up Morocco before teaming up with the Ottomans to take down the Mamluks. By now you should have a ton of favors with the Ottomans, literally for no reason, just for the fact that we have been allied, and you will be able to call them in against the Mamluks and they will gladly help. Make sure to give them a few provinces up here just to keep them happy, because you do want to focus mainly on the Alexandria trade node. During this time you could also declare an opportunistic war against the Iberian nations like I did for Ceuta right here. In my case, Castile are fighting Naples and France at this time, so I could declare on Castile and call in the Ottomans. They do have Portugal as a junior partner though, which might make things a little bit more difficult in my case. In your case, they might not even have Aragon, so it really depends. But I recommend taking care of Morocco, growing a bit in West Africa, and fighting the Mamluks once or twice before being powerful enough to take on the Iberian nations even by yourself. Or if you feel strong enough to do it right now, you could. Personally, I would declare on them in this situation right here. After this point, you should really start focusing on building buildings, because up until now we weren't that rich, but after this point we will be. The only things I've really built are marketplaces in all the center of trade provinces, as you can see, in all the blue ones, and I have built a couple of churches too, not too much though. After this point you should really ramp up building and start building production buildings in all the high value trade goods such as cloth, spices, iron, copper, sugar, and provinces like that. And after that, once you conquer a big portion of Iberia, of course you will be forming Andalusia, an excellent nation. You will take their ideas and you will take their missions. And after that you will be even more unstoppable. For your next government reforms, you should take centralized bureaucracy for tier 3, meritocratic recruitment for tier 4. General estates isn't bad for tier 5, you could take that, or royal decree. For tier 6 you should take l'état c'est moi, and for tier 7 you should take political absolutism. Tunis has one unique achievement, Sons of Carthage, where you need to own and core Sicily, Sardinia, the Balearic Islands, the southern coast of Spain, and the coast of Algiers. Of course you will do that just simply through playing and expanding naturally in these areas. We do already have permanent claims on these from one of our first missions. There's also another achievement you could do as Tunis, Barbarossa, which requires you to have 500 light ships privateering. You could definitely do that one as well. Make sure to take naval and maritime though. If you're not sure if your game is gonna go like mine, or if you're gonna have as much luck, or if you're not confident in your abilities, this save file will be available to all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that you would like to see a guide on. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, since only 12% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.